Hey guys, it's Tricia Carr. I have new exciting things going on with my Mystic Arts Academy. You can now subscribe to receive all of the live monthly content for about a third of the investment of a single class. Included are at least one downloadable guided meditation per month, 2 live events ranging from classes, channeled messages, group readings, intuitive development guidance, Q&A sessions, and tons of community. You'll also have access to a private Facebook community for fellowship and support, and this space is kept super sacred and high vibrational. Your subscription gives you access to the whole library of classes and live events, which are on a vast array of topics. All events are offered online by Zoom video call, and many are also offered live in person at my studio here in Los Angeles. Subscribing to the Mystic Arts Academy is also a way for you to support the Charmed Life podcast and engage on a deeper level. I'm offering the subscription at a super low rate of $22 a month. Joining now locks in this rate for as long as you're subscribed. Click on the description of this episode or go to my website, triciacarcharm.com, and click on Mystic Arts Academy. I look forward to connecting. Welcome to Charmed Life, a multimedia podcast discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I am your host, Tricia Carr. Welcome to this episode. I am really excited about today because, well, first of all, if you're watching, you may see that I am officially in my new studio. Last episode, I was in my new studio with the wonderful Elizabeth April, and this is the first time we're actually doing it live. So I'm really excited, and I have a very special in-studio guest to inaugurate it. Before I welcome my guest on, I just want to tell you guys that as the year is ending, that I have been able to open up some spots on my calendar for one-on-one sessions. I just moved through a really big program, and so as my schedule ebbs and flows, right now I have some openings for either animal communication or the intuitive mediumship through the rest of the year. I don't know how many, maybe not a ton, but go check it out at triciacarcharm.com. I would love to work with you. And in addition to that, I do actually do gift certificates. I tend to get a lot of those toward the end of the year as well. So just reach out if you are interested in doing the gift certificates by my contact form, or just schedule a session with me. We do anything that Spirit has for you to do to set you up for the changeover from this year to the next. All right, and with that said, I want to welcome in studio, she's here with me. Her name is Lon. She is a mindset coach as well as a Nautilus Award-winning artist and author. She is recognized worldwide. She is the author, the creator of one of my most favorite, I think it's probably, can officially say my favorite deck right now, Sacred Geometry Activation Oracle cards. These are so powerful, really have been making, you say you're a mindset coach and you do work with people, but you're doing work with people with these too, because they truly are powerful and changing. So I'm so excited to meet you. Thank you for coming up.
I'm so excited to be here. Yes.
And you live in San Diego, right?
I live in San Diego.
So she drove all the way up from San Diego to Burbank, California, and I'm just so honored to meet you because I feel like, again, I already have a relationship with you through this amazing work. So let's get into the work that you do with sacred geometry. The reason I got these, I didn't know you yet. I was looking for a way to really dig into sacred geometry. I kind of accidentally started using sacred geometry in this class that I taught last year. The class was Universal Laws and Archangels, or Archangels and Universal Laws. And I was guided to kind of use as an anchor for each of these classes where there was an archangel. I would channel guidance about a particular universal law. And I was guided to just sort of scry or, divine a particular sacred geometric shape to kind of anchor in the message. And I didn't know anything about it. Obviously, I knew Metatron's cube, and so the Metatron month went with Metatron's cube. But I just kind of went with it by feeling into this kind of graph of different sacred geometry. And every time they came together, it was so divinely aligned. So talk to us about sacred geometry.
Oh, wow. It's been such a journey. And just listening to you, my mind goes like, wow, when I started, I didn't know any of that. For me, it started back, I think, in the 90s when I came across images of crop circles.
Oh, yes.
Have you ever seen those?
I have, and these are now. So, what is your opinion about that then? Are the crop circles?
Yeah, I try not to go in. I know that
Yeah.
there's this whole controversial discussion about whether they are a hoax, whether they are real, whether they are made by extraterrestrials, or whether they are made by like a farmer at night with a beer bottle behind his tractor, right?
I've seen people do it with like boards on their shoes.
Yes.
Yeah, like remaking them to prove that it's a hoax. Yeah.
Exactly. I never really gotten into like what's true. I don't
Right.
really care about who makes them. I just know when I saw it, and I did art school, so graphic design is my background, and I started in a time when there was no computer yet. I did a lot of things by hand.
Wow,
So
cool.
looking at a crop circle design, I know how incredibly complex that is.
So whoever did it
Exactly.
meant it.
So it's like whoever made it,
Yeah.
it deserves our attention.
Ooh.
It deserves our at least acknowledging that whatever is made there is profound.
Right.
And it probably has a meaning. And for me, it was just, I felt like a kid in the candy store. As a graphic artist, as a creative, I just wanted to take those lines and color them in. And so I did. I started taking the pictures, putting it in line art, which is complex enough. It is not simple. I mean,
Right.
these designs are so profound. So I started giving it colors and noticing that I felt different with the different colors.
Yes.
And then other
I
people
love color therapy.
Exactly. And then other people saw what I was doing, and the feedback was like, wow, that is amazing. This makes me feel happy. This makes me feel sad. And I started awakening to the idea of like, what if it's a language?
Yes.
And what if I can use it as a language?
Wow. And so at the time, this was in the 90s, it's also kind of harder to Google something. So you saw an image and you didn't realize it had a name or something like that.
No, I
right?
started much
Totally
later.
intuitively feeling into it.
And then I started coming across the term sacred geometry.
Yes.
And I researched it, and I came across the work of, what's his name? The Flower of Life work by Melchizedek.
Okay. I
Yeah.
know the Flower of Life. I don't know.
And I started researching it, and then I came across all the things like Metatron's Cube and Flower of Life and the Genesis pattern and all of that. And it started making sense, like, wow,
It's in nature. So that
it is in nature.
Did that blow your mind after you'd been
Oh,
studying it to
did.
realize
It
that
did.
it's actually in the design of creation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to realize that the flower of life, like the symbol of the flower of life, has been used for ages.
Yeah.
Like on every continent, like way before there was ever any possibility of us being in connection with each other. Everybody has found their way to that same symbol and has used it on temples, and it's always been like a symbol to recognize that we are part of a whole. It's always been used as a symbol of we are all together, everything is one, everything is connected, everything is actually based on the same kind of, there's a rhyme and a reason, there's a mathematical system underlying everything that is created. And that just blew my mind.
So were you open metaphysically at the time? Were you studying anything else that was metaphysics
Not
or
really.
spirituality in that way?
I grew up in Holland, and I don't know if any of you know about Holland, and it's a really cool little country, but it's also incredibly down to earth and kind of like a no-nonsense culture. So for me, growing up as a child, I was highly sensitive and probably what we call now psychic.
Sure.
But that wasn't recognized. There was no framework the way I grew up that recognized that taught me what it was about. So I was very confused. I felt very misunderstood.
Yeah.
I felt very alone because most of the things that I noticed in people, in things around me, the feedback was from my family or my direct surroundings was like, oh, you're just imagining it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I felt I was crazy. So I hid it. And
so many people have that story, even if you're in a family or a country or something where it's more recognized. I mean, I don't know.
And now it's different because we have access to the internet, right?
Yes.
Because
So
even
your parents reject you on it, or society, you can go into the internet at least and find other.
Exactly.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
really
I had
beautiful.
to start traveling outside my country and go to the other side of the world when I finally, like in my late 20s, I met people in Thailand and they talked about auras and energy and chakras and it was all in English. So, and to me that opened up a world of, wow, there's people like me.
Yeah.
There is a language around this.
And you were an adult at that time, so
yes.
And so it was all those years of being a kid, and then I'm sure just like the typical story, you put it away and really tried to. Yeah. But you've been an artist probably, yes. right? So you shifted. You in a way didn't shut it down probably, because the art still tapped into the intuition and tapped into the experiencing in a way that was acceptable. Yeah. Sort of.
Well, I did mostly like conventional like website work and logos and brochures and flyers and things like that. And then I started doing much more with the sacred geometry, and because of the feedback that I was getting, I started playing with it more and more and realizing that it made me so happy. And I figured out that I was just wondering. I'm a thinker. I'm a deep digger. I'm a Scorpio. That's my nature. I wanna understand how, and I'm fascinated with human consciousness. So when we talk about certain concepts, like when we talk about health and we talk about love and we talk about compassion, I've thought like, what does that mean? And what would that look like? Like if we can just give an image, a visual for a concept like compassion, what would it look like? Because if I can capture that and I can show that to people, then I can constantly be reminded to be that. Like if I understand it more, how to be it, and if I have a constant reminder, it's like a visual affirmation.
Yes,
right? So I have them now all over my house, and it is a constant reminder. You know, I wake up and I look at a, like this one is...
That's her new deck, you guys.
It's my new deck.
Oh, Sacred Geometry of Relationships Oracle. It's so brand new that even just last week I was trying to find a way to order it. And she brought me my own deck.
I know. I've only had it for 2 weeks.
Oh, gosh.
But the main picture is called Grace.
Oh, I love it.
And I have that on my wall in my house because I feel like more than anything in this world, we need grace.
Yes.
We need grace. We need compassion. We need to be kind. We need to be gentle with each other, with ourselves, with the world, with our environment, with all of it. And
I love it.
So I just take big concepts and I translate them in pictures.
I'm getting so chills right now because I relate grace in breath, and we have Olivia Ray in studio, who's a breathwork teacher, and the breath is a way to show us that we are faithful and that the universe is faithful to us, but it also to show us grace, because the apex at the top and the bottom of the breath is grace. You know, when we're not doing the inhale or the exhale, that's just grace, and we are sure that that the next either materialization or dematerialization will happen. And so when you finish that, you took a beautiful breath.
I know.
And for me, there is a universal law of grace. It is true, you know, that the gap between the non-physical and the physicalization of it, that's grace, so that we can we can hone our frequency. And I think that these, like the work that you do, is holding that space of grace, because you charge it up with the energy, but it's alive still. Yeah. And you connecting with the activation of it is that space of grace where you get to refine the frequency, refine the creation. I just heard, it's interesting, you know who Russell Brand is, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just yesterday on Facebook, I saw a little ad for his more recent episode, and a woman was talking about grace, but she was using this other side of it where she was, I think she is more religious or Christian, and she was saying that grace is something that, to paraphrase this person entirely, kind of bums people out, because to think that a person who maybe committed crimes against humanity has grace, has the opportunity for grace, it actually bums us out. But it kind of just bums us out from this 3D perspective, I think.
Yes, I agree with
that. You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I love grace. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and for me, there was so much also about grace. It's such a in between the divine and the human, right? There is so much of the space of the unmanifested energy, like the divine space. And before we go from the unmanifested energy into anything that wants to become form, that wants to become matter, it needs to change. Like that energy needs to change from being in waveform and just being energy to changing into being particles and being able to form. And the way I understand it is like, it's almost like the layers that it falls through, it somewhere falls through the layer of sacred geometry. Like sacred geometry is kind of like a structure. It's like a blueprint that helps the energy to go from being nothing but unmanifested, just flowing energy, to becoming something.
Yes.
And then later on, it could become form, like our physical bodies or our physical world. Yeah. But what happens for us when we look at something that is made of sacred geometry, it kind of takes us out of our conscious part of our brain.
Exactly. It's all subconscious, where the causal plane is. Yeah. Yes.
So it's innate. It's intuitive. And it's almost like sometimes people get really emotional. I get emotional sometimes when I look at it. Yeah. And if you think about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because it's just shapes and colors.
It doesn't make sense to the conscious mind.
Exactly.
At least, right?
There's no context, right? There's no fluffy puppies. There's no beautiful flowers. There's no, there's nothing that makes you feel emotional because you related to something. But there is an emotional reaction. And that to me is fascinating. And that to me also is a proof, like, yeah, I bring it through, but I'm just a vessel. I'm just the person that brings it through. But there's something going on that's so much larger than what I am.
And that's all inspiration. That's all art. It's all spirituality. And we both share the passion for metaphysics, spirituality, to be normal for people.
Yes.
I feel that is so needed right now, because there is so much rejection of the self through in having the burden of dogma, or the burden of, and when I say dogma, it could be from religion, but it could also be from science. Science is when it's done right, it's alive, and not when it's done right, but you know what I mean? Like, it is done right. Scientists actually go into the chaos in a way with faith to try and allow something to come through. It's just what artists do, and it's what spiritual, mystical people do as well. And unfortunately, when we're kind of in that dogmatic state of mind where our sovereignty is placed without, then we are in separation consciousness. Yeah. Right? And absolutely. That's how we fight one another, and we fight ourselves, and we have the blame and judgment, and there's no growth there. Yeah. But in this, in the purity of something like the sacred geometry, it's all growth, it's all expansion, it's all evolution.
Yeah, and a lot of it is so based on almost scientific things, right? Yes. Because it addresses what we know about energy, and what we know about energy in different waveforms, particles, waves. We know that exists. There is so much scientific that backs all this up. It taps into what we know about the conscious and the subconscious, and how so much of our behavior and what we believe is just buried and programmed in our subconscious, which makes out the biggest part of us. Yeah. So in order for us to change anything, we got to find a way to tap into that subconscious and get past the conscious. Well, and sacred geometry does that beautifully.
Yeah. I'm a hypnotherapist.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, and we talk about that all. That's all it is about 88% of the mind is the subconscious. Only 12% is the conscious. And unfortunately, we're walking around with that. Conscious is the mind of...
It's the driver's seat, right?
Yeah, it's analysis, it's willpower, it's problem solving, and that's all great. But that isn't change, that isn't creation. Subconscious is where the creation is. But in the subconscious mind are what we call knowns. And that's the programming are the knowns. And the sacred geometry bypasses the conscious mind and the critical mind and just gets in there where there's just potential. And if with the feeling, like you said, that feelingly experiencing the sacred geometry or the art is how we actually start to change our neurology. We actually change our brain, how it's structured with the feelings, because feelings are just chemicals in our brains. And that's what actually changes our neural pathways, which helps to change the default programming.
Yeah. And then I do address the conscious mind, because I write about every piece.
We want to use the whole mind. Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I write about the concept. What does it mean? What do we think that it means? And what could it mean in a new energy, in a new sort of consciousness, in a more expanded form of dealing with a concept? What could it mean? And then I describe what you see, like the colors and the shapes and the numerology and the symbology. And then I give reference as well. Like in my new deck, because it's all about relationship, I also go into the concept and I say, like, so how does that relate to relationship? And then I give you food for thought. And I'm starting to write more and more. I want to write for people that are not familiar with the metaphysical. Yeah. Because I feel that there is so much value in looking at this, and you don't have to be woo-woo or metaphysical.
It's natural.
Right?
If it's real, then it's natural
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah.
And this is the old Hermetic tenet of as above, so below.
Yeah.
Which is why I identify as a teacher of nature and spirit, because if I'm understanding a spiritual or metaphysical concept and I can't understand it in my body and in the earth,
Yeah.
then I'm not ready for it, or something that's not, or it's not true from all perspectives, because we have everything we need here in what we've already created from spirit into physical. Yeah. So yes, so it should be true for everyone. Now, I love the mystical expression, and I love the colorful, talking about all of the amazing woo-woo stuff as well, but that isn't necessarily everybody's jam. You don't all have to love, Coldplay in order to love music, for example.
It's so funny that you said that, because the last couple of days I've been playing with a friend of mine, and we've been I'm in the process of writing an ebook about chakras.
Oh, good. Okay.
And we were joking about it, because one of the things that I was saying, like, I'm going to tell people, like, maybe you think that chakras are not your jam.
You actually said that language.
No, I didn't, because we were talking about, we're going to do a T-shirt about, like, join our jam, because you might think that it's not your jam, but I'm telling you that you have them,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So I want to write it in a way that people feel that they can relate, where it's not that woo-woo, but that they can understand, like, this is how you're built. You're an energetic being, whether you consider yourself like connected to the metaphysical or not. This is where it's starting to merge the spiritual with the science, and that needs to become the new paradigm, because this is just like, in a decade from now, this is just going to be our truth, and we're going to look back and we're going to go like, how did we not see this before, right?
Well, and the chakra system is, the word chakra is Sanskrit, it's from the Hindu religion, but it's ancient. I mean, it even predates that. And even Abraham Maslow, who was a scientist, came up with that, the hierarchy of self-actualization, or the hierarchy of needs. And it looks just like the chakra system, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's very similar. Yeah. It's just stages of development and ways that we actually relate with dimensionality. And we are dimensional from any perspective, from this physical perspective. We are dimensional. And so it is, again, if it's true, then it's true from all of the perspectives, all of the possible infinite perspectives.
Yeah, we've just forgotten so much, right? And we excluded it from our belief system, and we've excluded it from our education. And that's sad, and it hasn't really done us a lot of service, because it made us almost functioning incomplete. We could function so much better and so much more complete and so much more fulfilled if we understand the larger picture and how we fit in that larger picture.
And the thing is that when we say, oh, it's not woo-woo or whatever, that's really just judgment. That's just as judgmental as someone who's in their whatever religion saying you're going to hell. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the same. It's a similar frequency of separation and judgment. And that's why I think it's really wonderful when artists are actually presenting these topics, because art is spirituality, spirituality is art, creativity is intuition, intuition is creativity, and science is all woven in there as well. It used to be that the church and science were one, or spirituality and science were one, and I think that's where we're going, especially with quantum physics. Is really, quantum physics is starting to put a face from a more universally accepted perspective to what mystics have known for centuries.
And people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, you know, who've done so much beautiful research, and who are backing it up with scientific research, right? And they are proving to us, so they're blending it more and more towards this.
Right.
I mean, he actually uses sacred geometry in his presentations to help people to do something that used to be only considered in the metaphysical realms, like meditation and working with the consciousness and the subconsciousness, and he's making it so much more normal.
Joe Dispenza actually went to my school of hypnotherapy that I'm...
Oh, really?
Yeah, the program that I'm in. Not the exact program, but from the founder, like I think in a different state or something like that. But yeah, I've been loving his work for a long time. Want to get him on the show. Hello, anybody know Joe Dispenza? Tell him to come on my show. Olivia knows him. That's right.
I'm a friend of a friend.
Oh.
I'm working on it.
You're like so fired if you...
That would be great.
Yeah, it
wouldn't
would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
She said she has a friend. Kurt's trying to get the mic to her. She has a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
I have 3 degrees of separation from Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
And Lon has 4 degrees of separation from Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
Why are you keeping Joe Dispenza from us, Olivia?
And I'm actually, Joe Dispenza works a lot with Natalie Ledwell from Mind Movies.
Oh, I don't know her. Okay.
Okay, so Mind Movies is a big part of what Joe Dispenza does in his workshops.
Okay.
It's a program, an application where people can create their own small little videos with affirmations. So you can make your own little video about, I am healthy, or whatever you want to create. And it's
what
now
is the
becoming
imagery that is used?
They have a whole library. So the
Okay.
app has a whole library inside the app that you
like
can
geometry
use.
and stuff.
Well, and that's the thing. I connected with her at a Joe Dispenza seminar.
Oh, okay.
And she loves my work, and my work is actually in the Mind Movie platform. So I'm kind of
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm part of that whole movement.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And so with the Mind Movies, what is the audio? Where's the audio sourced? Like you put it together. Do they have?
It's all in. It's all
do you do it
inside
your
the
own
app.
voice?
It's all inside the app.
No, you pick. There's pre-records of certain affirmations, and you blend them in of someone who's already recorded it. Is that how it works?
No, you type it.
Oh, okay.
You can use your own. You make your own text.
I got it. Okay.
And then you can put your own audio on it. So you could speak it yourself, or you can just use your favorite music, or you can choose it from their library. And then they provide tons and tons of imagery as well. So
and we can pick your imagery.
yeah, you can
by
pick
name.
my imagery.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you can pick
good.
my imagery
I
by
love it.
name and blend it into your little movie, and then you can make a movie. And the idea is that you can use that on a daily basis. You watch that movie to work with your subconscious mind to help for you to become a creator, like to create like the things in your life that you really desire.
And so I have a mentor at school, at my hypnotherapy college, and so she makes recordings of our sessions. So like with guided imagery, guided meditation, guided hypnosis, it's while I'm a huge proponent that as a baseline of your life, you would want to be doing your inner community, your meditation practice every day, but really doing outwardly facilitated guided imagery or guided meditations, affirmations, or whatever is powerful so that you can totally relax into the experience. Yeah. I actually do a little meditation first to, clear my mind and do just my typical kind of energy healing. And then and I don't do it necessarily every day using my mentors or someone else's facilitated guided, work, but 2 or 3 times a week, I find it really helpful to use someone else's facilitation so that you can get some outward projection, I guess is the way to say it.
I do both. I do part visual and I do part where I go inward. I do part silent. I sometimes do walking meditations. I use imagery.
I'm not very visual outwardly. I think partly because up until a year ago, I was almost blind. I had really, really poor vision, and I got eye surgery. So now I have really great vision, but for my whole life before preceding, I had terrible vision. So I think I adjusted. I'm very auditory, and I'm also kinesthetic. Yeah. Those are my primary systems. And so I'm not very stimulated. Like in meditation, I don't usually do visual. I use your cards, obviously. And when I do oracle cards, that's kind of the time that I tend to use art or visual stimulation. Yeah, but it would be good to maybe something like that's a good message to me. And when I was using the sacred geometry for that class, I would sit there and meditate with it. And then I get a picture of it in my mind and I close my mind and it kind of lives there. So I'm very inner visual, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah,
I bet you are as well, right? You're very clairvisual.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So do you see art in your mind's eye first, or is it fluid?
Yeah, people ask me that all the time because part of what the work that I do, a lot of these pieces are based on people. They are personal soul portraits.
Yes. So tell them about your soul portrait work.
Yeah.
Yes, we haven't mentioned that yet.
So just as I discovered that I can visualize a concept like love or harmony or anything like that, I can visualize it into an imagery. I can do it with people because I started wondering if I sit with you, I get a feeling, right? I get an idea of who you are. I can feel your essence. Right. And I'm an empath and I'm highly intuitive. So I figured I can probably express that. So I started trying that. So I made a couple, and to my big surprise, people recognized themselves. And then when I showed it to other people, they said like, oh yeah, that is totally that person.
Wow.
And that was just mind-blowing to me. Like, well, it's just shapes and colors. How is that person? Like, no, I totally see it. I totally see it. So
I love that.
So now I think probably almost half of these decks are representations of people's core, of people's essence.
People that you've known, or you just
Their
mean in
clients,
general?
People find me and they commission me to make their soul portraits. And but one of the questions that most of them ask is like, when I sit with them for an initial session, an intake session, they ask me like, so what do you see? What do you get? And I'm like, it really doesn't work that way.
Yeah, right. I get it. You're channeling.
Yeah,
and when
it doesn't.
It happens in the moment. So that's why I was wondering. I figured it was fluid. Yeah, because I'm very auditory and very spoken and very about the voice and the throat and the high heart chakra. And so I actually, if I'm going like later today, I'm doing a channeled class, and I won't get information. I'll sit down to for a while. Sometimes I do classes where the outline or it's like a channeled writing, and then it's presented and we discuss it. But when it's not meant to be that, I'll sit down and nothing will come, just the title, and then I have to show up. And then it's like you're observing it, right? That's what channeling is like. You're observing it as it's happening.
Yeah. When I start with a soul portrait, I usually go into meditation and I kind of put my intention out there, and I tell the universe, like, I really want to connect to this person. And I always ask for pictures of my clients. Like, give me pictures so I have a visual that I can anchor into and that I can constantly compare with what I'm doing. And I can feel it when it resonates. Right. So, and then once I kind of open that channel, I just take a basic shape and I give it a color. And I know instantly, like, nope, not the right color. Right. I know instantly, like, no, that's got to be pink. And I can just feel it. And I know when I can't even explain it. It just comes in. And I also know when I'm there.
What mediums do you use for that?
I use a computer. Yeah, I use a combination of Photoshop and Illustrator.
Okay.
And
so then you can play with the colors. You can move
and
it around really
it's
subtly.
All gradations. Yeah. It's all like it's layer up on layer up on layer. There's like a lot of transparencies and it just starts building and building. And at one point, I just feel like my heart is just so full of that person, and it's like it almost feels like if I fall in love. I totally fall in love with that person, and that's when I know that I've got it. Wow! Because I look at that image and I'm like, oh, look how beautiful they are. Because I get to express them,
their higher aspects
of who they really are.
Totally,
like their core and their soul. And it's such an honor to be invited also to look at somebody at that level. Yeah. Because we don't really look at each other that way, right? I mean, for you to give me permission, like, you have permission to really tap into me and to look at me at my core, which I do. And then I translate that. And then the result is a piece that you can hang on your wall. And that is going to be a constant reminder.
And it's alive. It's alive.
It's an activation.
Yes, it's alive forever.
It's a communication between you and that piece. And that even on the days when you get out of bed and you kind of feel like, right? We all have those days, right? Yeah. You come out of bed and then you just look at that. It's like a mirror of your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. Have you ever heard of human design?
Yes.
Oh, do you know what you are?
Yes,
what are you?
I do. I am a manifesting
generator.
I'm a manifesting generator. Okay. But what was interesting in my design is you're familiar with it, right? So there's
only a little bit. I'm a reflector, and so I'm just learning about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. People always say that.
Well, there's 13 centers. Yes. Right. And then you either are completing that center or you're open, and then they can be connected as well. So most people have open centers, closed centers. Some of them are connected, some of them are not. And so those are the things that need to be filled in. There's your gaps. So the interesting thing about my design is I've got 12 of the 13 are complete. Okay. I only have one that's open. Oh. And they are all connected.
Wow. Okay. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, see, I was wondering if you're a reflector just because you're talking about mirroring back to someone their true soul essence.
I think
they're all closed except for one. So it's kind of the same thing. Like you've completed all of them. And so you can just.
And they're all connected. Yeah. And that's what I've always felt like. I mean, I love to have people around, but I'm very self-sufficient. Like my mind works really well together with my brain, with my senses, and that when I saw that in my human design, that made a lot of sense. Like, okay, that's why I function. Like as an artist, most artists are good at their art, but they're not good at techniques, the technical parts, right? I do both.
Right.
I always have.
That's awesome.
So,
So you're a Scorpio sun.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out, y'all. Scorpio sun, what's your moon?
I'm a triple water sign. My moon is Cancer, and my
Ascendant is Pisces.
yeah.
I'm Pisces. Pisces sun sign. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. So much
so-
water, so much flow.
And so much emotional sensitivity.
Yes,
right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what's your life path number?
You know what? I don't know that one.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll do that later. Well, let's talk about the pieces that you brought. We have behind, if you guys are watching, you have a couple of pieces that you brought in. Olivia, will you help us? Ask Olivia, she'll be Vanna White.
I brought.
Do you mind? I didn't tell you she's like putting her hair over her face. She's
brought the signature sign for the new deck. So the new deck is all about relationships, because I realized at some point, like, relationships are... Oh, this is a different one. All right, but we'll start with this one.
Yeah.
This is a soul portrait of a client of mine, and it's called Influence.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a woman she is a coach, and she is having a massive impact, especially on the South American part of the world. And just sitting with her and feeling her fire and her passion and her commitment.
And so much truth, so much expression of truth in there too.
Yeah, and the passion is there in the oranges, but also so much communication and clarity.
Right.
She expresses, and she is honest, and she is direct. And then what was really interesting in this piece, because I don't think I've seen that in any of my pieces before, is that there's the 6 circles.
Yeah.
The Genesis pattern, or it's the Egg of Life. Now I'm confused myself.
I can't remember all the names, but I recognize it too from
and it's like that's where life starts. It's the beginning, because if you would keep on adding circles, you end up with the flower of life. Right.
Wow.
So
tell her thank you so much for allowing her soul
to
make an appearance.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Olivia. She's like hanging on to it. And you don't have to pick up the other one, because we can just show it
we
on
can
this.
see that over here.
Thank you so much. And would she like for her name to be shared since she's a coach?
Claudia Shefford.
Claudia Shefford. Okay, great.
Claudia Shefford.
Great, good. Yeah, so guys, you already met her. You can go find her.
Yeah.
Her work. So the signature piece for the Relationships Oracle?
Yes.
Let's talk about that one.
Grace. We talked about it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit. And for me, grace, most of my pieces have usually a lot of stuff going on in the background. And with this one was one of the first one where there is nothing going on in the background. It's just the purples. Pure. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, like, because often I make the piece before I tell the story. Like the piece comes through first, and then I sit with it for days, for nights, and I just look at it, and I kind of learn the story of what it's trying to tell me. So when I saw all this space here, I'm like, what is that trying to tell me? And then I realized, like, that is the space that's the God space. That is that unmanifested energetic field where anything is possible, where all potential is possible. And from there, I don't know where it's on camera.
Right here, yeah.
Yeah, right there. Okay, so from there, we go from the unmanifested and we come more into the manifested, because he is the flower of life. And the flower of life is the grid on which most things here in this 3-dimensional reality is based. So now we have the flower of life, and then we go further into where the human expression is. The passion, the expression of self with the yellows and the heart energy.
And the green in there, yes, exactly. And then inside there, in that depth too, is again, there's the white of purity, and there's blues and purples again. Yeah, and the core of the essence. Yeah. Oh, I just love it so much. So how can people, obviously with your cards, how can people connect with sacred geometry? Sometimes, like when I thought about starting to learn it, we tend to, that conscious mind starts to want to take control of it, and they're like, I have to memorize all the names of all these things. And it's like, no, not that way. No. I want to make, and I'm going to, in the future, I'm going to
write ebooks about this and make like videos about how to work with this, because working with these cards is, I'd like people to know, like, you don't need to know anything about oracle cards. And sometimes I feel like I wish that I could call it just insight cards, you know, because they're just little hints, they're little suggestions of like, maybe think about this for a little bit, you know, have a little bit, this one is about duality, for instance, right now. Like, what does that mean? How does it show up? I mean, how does it apply to your reality? But also, what does it mean in a relationship, for instance? So I don't think people need to know anything about it. There's a guidebook with each of these card decks that I try to explain. I give suggestions.
They're beautiful. Oh, I love your guidance in the guidebook. It's
and
so
I give
powerful.
suggestions for drawings.
Yes.
But mostly what I would say is like, you know, just draw a card. Draw one card. Think about something, or just draw a card and see what comes up. You don't necessarily need to have a specific question. You don't need to have
just an activation for the day.
And use your intuition. Right.
And that's what this is the thing. I asked a while ago, because like you, I don't want to get too deep into like in speak or woo woo or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, that's judgmental. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm connecting with the human experience in an a general way or a unified way. And so I kind of asked Spirit, I was like, I mean, am I emphasizing cards too much? Because I think there's such a powerful way for people to be in their own energy and to start to work with their own intuition. And the answer I got back was kind of like, well, basically it's a book that's not bound. So, you know, you flip open your favorite book or favorite book of poetry, and you just kind of I'm going to just randomly, if you want to call it that, and that's exactly what you need that day. So it's just a book that's unbound, and that's a very classic human experience, is to have words and pictures put together in a collection. So,
and we've used this, again, this has been used, some kind of readings with cards or with imagery has been used for centuries and centuries throughout every culture. Right. So there is an innate desire for us to communicate with maybe something that's larger than us, and there is an innate desire for us to get some input, you know, like show me something that I may be missing.
Right.
You know, just like we're asking a friend. So maybe this is just your new friend.
Yes.
So instead of asking you like, okay, what am I missing here? Right? I'm in this situation, or I'm in this relationship, and you can tell me something, or I can ask the cards like, what am I missing? Is there something that I need to be looking at?
And it's it's miraculous every time, because if you just relax, it will always, these are the cards that I pulled this morning, and they had so much to do with what I had just meditated on. But what's cool is, so the first card is empowerment, and it says the frequency of empowerment supports our ability to show up fully and completely, uniting us with others in the deep trust that we are all connected through the same source. So that's great, right? That's never going to hurt anyone's feelings. The next card was remembrance, and it said the frequency of remembrance supports our memory of everything that we have gone through as a soul and body, providing us with valuable information and tools to flow gracefully with us in this life. And then the last card is alchemy, and it says the frequency of alchemy activates our magical ability and remembrance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of the magic that we all hold inside. I mean, they overlap. And it's not like if you picked any other three cards, they would overlap and intertwine in the same ways. It's not like many of the cards have remembrance in it or are talking about, you know, so this is miracles of transmutation. So it's like these three cards tell a really important story together. Yes. And sometimes I just pull one, but these three came out together in a clump. Like,
that's how I like to look at it as well. You know, you can just draw 3 cards or 5 cards or 7 cards, and then I just look at the story. Like, look at the cards together, and just what comes up when you look at these together. It's like is there like a general theme that you're seeing? Like, what is the story that they're trying to tell you? Like, each card by itself has a story, but then in combination,
because it's your subconscious mind, it's your spiritual mind that's actually finding. You know, our third eye. We know the third eye to be, for the people that are, my audience is very, you know, mystical and metaphysical, but we know the third eye to be, that's how we have clairvoyance and we can see spirits and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's also how we intuit. It's how we do bring through art or something like that. But the third eye is a pattern seeker. And like humans are pattern seekers. And it's something that we do on kind of all levels. So from the kind of physical level, the human physical level, we are pattern seekers because that's how we can maintain homeostasis. Everything is in order, and so I'm not threatened. But also on the really high level, essentially stories are patterns. And we are like a pattern, we are a story, we are a theme of this universe, of source energy.
Yeah.
And so the third eye is a pattern seeker, but in being able to kind of lock into that pattern, you also can relax because everything is then unlocked in a way, I think. That's what you were kind of talking about, gone full circle. You're talking about at the beginning.
Yeah, and then it's just, to me also, it's like it's reassurance. Like if I understand the logic and how things are connected and why something shows up in my life because I was holding a certain vibration or I was doing a certain thing, then things make sense. And it makes me feel like, okay, that means that I can do something about it.
Yes, right.
So
there's some grace there. There's the trust, there's faith, there's all of that.
And empowerment,
unfolding.
right?
Yes.
That gives us empowerment. So, and that's what I try to do. I just try to show people like, just become aware of the subtle stuff because the subtle stuff does matter. And what I was thinking last week about is so funny. I don't know how you grew up, but I grew up with like, you were not supposed to daydream. Like, come back here, like, like children that were in school and were staring out the window and daydreaming. That kind of got shunned, right? You're not supposed to daydream. And now I feel like we're moving into a time where we are recognizing like daydreaming might be one of your strongest assets. Right. To create a life that's going to be fulfilling. Because if you can daydream it and you can hold that vision and hold that intention, you can create it. Isn't that funny?
That's wonderful. And and daydreaming isn't, worrying and stressing out. We're talking about being free of it.
No, we're talking about like, imagining yourself
using your imagination,
doing that, what you're so passionate about and what you so love and maybe sharing that with others and making a huge impact on the world and a huge impact in other people's life. And imagine what that would feel like if that happens and where you would be and what you would be doing. And
because the thing is, the universe and also your own essence, including your body, doesn't know the difference between you doing it for real or if you're feelingly experiencing it in a daydream or an imaginal state. It doesn't know the difference. And so you just start to create that reality. It just starts to happen, which is the reason why we create the things we don't want by being worried about the future or something, because our body and our being believes that that's what we're calling. That's the order we're placing with the universe. I'll take some of that bad thing happening to me, please.
Exactly. Yes.
But that's a part of the journey as well, because then we see the pattern of something that's unwanted louder and louder, so that then we can start to move into, there's in neuro-linguistic programming, I'm also taking that right now, that we use a little bit of running away from in order to define the running toward or the moving toward. Yeah. So there's two ways. It's kind of like when we say the A Course in Miracles says that we only have love or fear. Those are the only things that we think or feel at any time is love or fear. Totally paraphrasing. And so that's what we're saying. Like the running away from something is the fear aspect, and then the love aspect is the moving toward in that daydreamed, imaginal, I'm a creator state. But we can use a little bit of that running away from, a little bit of the fear energy to help us to define the true energy that is our true essence. That's okay. That's a part of the duality, actually. Is your card.
Well, and that's what I try to do, right? So I make these cards. Let me just see.
I'm so excited. She brought me my very own deck. It's brand spanking new. It's like steaming. It's so hot off the presses. So you guys go. We'll have all of the. They could just find it on your website now. A way to. To order them.
Yeah,
okay,
you can find it on the website, and it should be available at Amazon as well and at Beyond Words. But for instance, like if you take a concept like curiosity, like just to be reminded of that and to think about what that means will help you to set a direction. Because if you're not curious about anything, you would be staying exactly where you are, right? So these are all concepts that we kind of take them for granted, and we don't realize like how much they actually steer us or not steer us. Curiosity is such an important, it's something that I gave myself permission to do when I was in this early stage of kind of the awakening process. And curiosity is an absence of fear, is moving forward from my own interest and essence and desire. And it's a really beautiful energy. And it's something that I recognize with the realm of nature and nature spirits,
that the energy of curiosity is very important for the process of creation, for the manifesting process.
Yeah.
Nature spirits or fairies or whatever, they are very curious. And curiosity is that energy of play and also that daydream and imaginal energy that you're talking about too.
I think curiosity is probably one of the main drive forces for evolution.
Yes.
I think if we wouldn't be curious about what else there would be beyond what we already have,
well,
then nothing would move.
Einstein sat in that daydream state. I mean, he didn't call it meditation, but that's what he would do. He would sit in that state and wait for the answers to show up and commune with that kind of essence, just that curiosity and that wonderment. And then amazing things came through, which changed our reality, or understanding of it, I should say.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, we are actually almost out of time.
We are already?
I know, right? So much fun. We could talk for hours. You guys hang out with us for another 6 hours, please. Well, just tell us about, some final thoughts, how the work that you're doing, how they can get in touch with you. I'm so excited about the ebooks and the everything that's coming out too. Yeah.
So, Instagram. I am very, very active on Instagram because that's my medium.
Makes so much sense,
right? Because I can play there. So I make tons of like little videos. I make all these activations that you see here. I make them move.
Oh, nice.
And I put music on it, and I collaborate with other artists. And so follow me on Instagram. And I'm about to launch a membership-based community.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So that we can all connect and talk.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I just launched one of those.
You did?
Yeah, and so and you can actually drop in on it too, but I have a membership so that I love the community aspect.
So then I can start doing the books, and I can start offering courses, and I want to make everything really, really accessible. Yeah. This is going to be easy. This is, I'm going to translate all the woo-woo language. I'm going to translate it back like what do we mean when we say that?
Mm-hmm. I love it. Speaking of the chakras, for example, when I was, again, just kind of at the early stages of having a metaphysical opening, which I didn't even know that's what it was, I was having this coaching, this woman who coaches empaths to kind of change that empathic nature from like always sponging up the negativity into, the empowered experience. And we would do these, she would do these guided visualization meditations where she would say, just tap into your crown chakra. You don't need to know anything about it. Just, it's on the top of your head. It's like, it's purple. Just send your energy there. And she's like, you don't have to go read about these. I'm just going to tell you what it is and where it is. And it was really powerful. So again, it's true from all aspects, which is what it's undeniable that sacred geometry is because it's in nature.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
so, again, so people can connect with you on Instagram and get her...
Or my website. Yeah. For sure.
And those links are in the description. But any last words about how people can start to work with sacred geometry? And in addition to your decks, would you say...
I think it would be fun, like when you take a walk in nature, start looking around and start looking for the patterns, because we find it everywhere. It's in the spider webs, it's in sunflowers, it's in cauliflowers, it's in vegetables, it's in the way a wave breaks onto the shore. Yes. We see it in the star formations. I mean, you find it, it's in a fingerprint. It's everywhere.
So you can just meditate on it, hold that experience.
And just notice it, and then realize wow, it's all based on the same patterns. It means that it's all connected.
Right.
It's all the same thing. We all come from the same kind of source.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Wow, this has really been so fun.
It's been really fun.
You have to come back on, and if you want to come in studio, or you could just come.
No, I'd love it. And this is a great Sunday morning drive.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was listening to some inspirational speakers, and it was wonderful.
And also reminding everyone, you are doing your soul portraits still.
Yes.
So if you're interested in that, go to our website and check that out. Well, thank you so much. This has been just so amazing. I really, really love meeting you in person. And again, I've already had a relationship with you because these have been
and now you're going to have to new one.
I know. a relationship.
Yes.
So, well, thank you again for coming in. You guys definitely go check out Lon's links in the description, however you're listening. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.